Hey, what's up, card fighters? So I'm here with my long-awaited GRANFIA deck profile. I was actually supposed to upload it on Friday, but I know I've been lacking on the content lately, guys. Just please bear with me. I promise things are going to get better and back to a normal track on this channel, especially with this one deck, 1 week video experiment, I guess that's what I would call it at this point that I'm doing. It's definitely going to be more smoothed out and more clean in the coming week with the other deck that I'm playing. Currently, I am, for the next one deck 1 week, currently I'm working on Barrel Magnus, because that was something that was very popular with you guys, that you guys would like to see me quote-unquote crack / see what my idea on the deck would have been. But anyways, guys, getting into my GRANFIA deck list, I am running the GRANFIA ride line here. I tried the Zorga ride line, and I did like it. The only, downside was you have to run, at least 6 orders, it feels like, and, it's just, there's other cards that I would actually prefer in those slots over the extra order cards, which were basically just, extra copies of Frozen Resentment and other order cards that, do the Monster Reborn effect, and I found that they just kind of, clogged, and they kind of just felt like dead cards more often than not, so I just kind of cut out the Zorga ride line instead and rolled with the regular GRANFIA ride line, which at first I really didn't like, but the more and more I play it, I really do enjoy at least the grade 2 of the ride line, for the simple fact that you don't have to discard when you ride for GRANFIA. So that's actually really nice. And the token, getting the token when you do ride the grade 2 on top of the grade 1 is very relevant. More often than not, you will be swinging at your opponent with a full board. Do your rearguard attacks die to your opponent getting a trigger? Yes, most definitely, but the board you create is essentially free in terms of the cards you commit into putting in. Usually you just have to commit 1 card and you have a full board on turn 2. But anyways, let's get into the deck profile. I also want to apologize, guys, we do hear a little bit of background noise. I do have family over right now. I usually try to do these deck profiles either really early in the morning, that everyone's either asleep, or really late at night that everyone's either asleep, so you probably wouldn't hear these weird background noises. But again, I want to apologize, guys, and get into the deck profile. I know I talk too much, but yeah, starting off with the grade 3s, running, let's see, what would be a good base to put this right here. 3 copies of Persona Ride. Persona is actually really important in this deck. There is a 1-of tech that I am playing that you could either play Chalice instead of that tech, and it would maybe be better, because you really do need a Persona Ride in this deck. More often than not, you struggle to make a 23k column without Persona Ride. And when you restand, it's going to be a huge number, and your Vanguard's always a huge number, but your other attackers are usually not that big. They're either 18 or 13 or 23 maximum. So yeah, you really do want to maximize on Persona Ride. I'm maxing out on the Inlet Pulses. The reason I'm running the Inlet Pulses over the P-Warrior is the P-Warrior, you can consistently get it off, and it would make better numbers and technically fix your quote-unquote you don't really make numbers situation, but I just prefer Inlet Pulse because, number one, this deck really uses a lot of soul. Your Vanguard ability uses soul, your Revive Order uses soul, and it's just really good to be able to refill that soul and also get a draw off of it, so you're able to draw into your key pieces, because it's really important for this deck to draw into their token generators, because you need at least to make, so for the Noblest token for GRANFIA's ability, you can sack a maximum of 5 tokens, including herself, because she puts all tokens under herself as plant gauge. So you could sack a maximum of 5 tokens, restand a unit, and give it 5k for every card you sacked. But minimum, you need 3 for the restand. So you need at least 2 tokens generated to get the minimum restand off, because you'll have her as the third, because she does counter self, which is very nice. I did not know that in the beginning playing this deck, and it's actually come up. That relevancy actually came up a bunch of times. So whereas I'm playing against a retire deck, or a deck that wants to blow up my units and gets benefits from blowing up my units, just being able to suck up the Inlet Pulses and just being able to her kill herself basically, or like no, not her kill herself, but GRANFIA sacrifice herself to restand like an inlet pulse more often than not, is it actually like comes up. But anyways, getting into the token generators, originally when I was playing this deck at the beginning of the one deck 1 week, I was running like way more token generators, but I did cut down the token generators to run not the inlet pulses, but to run more revive cards, because I found myself, the problem was more often than not was I did have like a really good draw engine with the inlet pulses and with the draw triggers you will see later at the end of the profile. But I found myself more often than not just not being able to draw into my token generators because I was either milling them or I was like damaging them or just not seeing them in general. So that is my reasoning for like running the more mill cards, because as long as I see like at least one, I can more often than not just get the restand off, no problem. But getting into the generators, maxing out on 4 copies of the orange. The orange is honestly your best token generator because he's free. When you call him, generate a token, or generate a plant token, that is. This is really good on your turn 2 rush turns, because when you ride your grade 2, your grade 1 of the ride line generates a plant token. Okay, that's 1 rear guard. You call an orange, he generates a plant token when you call him. Okay, now you have 3 rear guards. At the beginning of your battle phase, if you have a GRANFIA Vanguard, he generates another plant token. So now you have 4 rear guards for the cost of 1 card, which was your orange. And you know, your discard for ride, but you're going to get something out of your discard for ride normally with most ride lines, so I'm not really counting that. But basically on turn 2, if you have 1 orange, you're going to have 4 rear guards, which means you could have a token column, you could have an orange with a token behind it, or you could either put a token behind your Vanguard. You're going to have 2 10k swinging columns and 1 15k swinging column. They do die to defensive triggers, but think about what you put into it to get it, and I'm not really too beat up if my opponent gets a defensive trigger, because I didn't put much stock into creating this board. This board was basically free. I got this board off of 1 card. So he's just really good in the early game, you know, in all stages of the game, because just 1 of him makes 2 tokens, which means it makes your noblest token live, because you need to sack 3. So really good. You want to max it out at 4, obviously, because it is really good in the early game. Another card that's really good in the early game and just good in the rest of the game period is 4 copies of the Mushroom Brothers. The Mushroom Brothers just help you get a really free board in the early game, especially if you are going second. You're able to just shove a Mushroom Brothers into Soul, produce 2 tokens. Now you have a 10k lane and your Vanguard swinging. Not to mention, if you use one of your revive orders, revive your Mushroom Brothers, you could shove it back into Soul, and now you have 4 rear guards on your first turn. And basically all you had to do was commit you had to commit 1 card, because the revive order just revived the same card. So now you have 4 rear guards on your first turn, and then on your second turn, you just discard, you ride up, now you have 5 rear guards. You don't have to commit anything else from hand, you already have a full board. And that's really good for your Noblest token, because when she boosts, she gets 5k, well not when she boosts, period, for every token that's underneath her, she's going to get a 5k boost. So when you Soul Blast for GRANFIA's skill and suck up all your tokens, she's like, that by herself right there, she's going to be a 30k booster, which is like really insane. Also, his 5k ability, if you have a grade 3 or greater GRANFIA Vanguard, is very relevant, especially since this deck doesn't exactly make the sexiest of numbers. It can make key numbers, but it's not going to make like the largest of numbers besides your Vanguard swing and your restand attack. My final token generator is 2 of the Pumpkin. The reason that I only run 2 of the Pumpkin is because his ability is an act skill, so that means you could use the same card multiple times, versus the Mushroom Brothers. You could really only use Mushroom Brothers 1 time, unless you have a revive order that you can use the same Mushroom Brothers. But I really like this at 2, because more often than not, I can dump it off my revive order, and now I just have it in the drop zone, to where it's like, if I need it, I already have it there. It's like I always have access to it at all times, and it's only so the way this card works is, if you have a, well, let me read this right. If I have Vanguard of GRANFIA in its name, Soul Blast 1, call a plant token to rearguard. If your Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, call 2 plant tokens instead of 1. So this is a Soul Blast 2, and this gets you your 3. Just like how orange, you just call it and it already gets you your 3. More often than not, you're going to have more than 3 because of your token generating resources, but all these cards by your grade 3 turn by themselves make it to whereas you're going to be at minimum be able to do your restander. And that's what I really like. Even though the token engine is only 10 cards, like I just said, you only need one of them. And if you have multiples, it just makes your Vanguard swing even scarier, and it makes your restand swing even scarier. But I'm heading on to the only revive order I play is 4 copies of Frozen Resentment. Frozen Resentment is just really good in this deck because, number one, it deck thins, so you're more likely to see triggers / key pieces. And my goal with Frozen Resentment is when I activate it is I actually want to mill my token generators and I want to mill my inlet pulses. The reason is those are the key cards I want to mill off of Frozen Resentment is because I can revive them off of Frozen Resentment, and my secondary revive card, which... oh, yeah, that fits. Which I'm playing 4 copies of Diantha is another target to where is like I can fill up my drop zone and being able to... This was my idea with the deck, which I really wasn't originally running Diantha. I didn't think about Diantha. I didn't think about it in my original build, like the first part of the week 1 of One Deck One Month. Not One Deck One Month. Shoutouts to Winner. One Deck One Week. And then a friend of mine, he's the tournament organizer / judge for the Oviedo locals, and he just like showed me a bunch of GRANFIA lists, and I'm not gonna lie, I low-key brushed them off. I usually, I hate it when people do this, but I usually think my way is the best way, or not the best way, but I usually prefer my way over anyone else's way, which I really hate that. But I looked at those deck lists, and it did give me some ideas. I'm not gonna lie. So shout outs to him, and I'm sorry, if I did low key brush you off. I didn't mean it. We're homies. But anyways, these are your 8 revival cards that you're playing. Obviously, like minimum, if you have this, at least one of her and one of this, you're going to be able to revive 2 cards a turn, which is very important because this deck is very board reliant. It doesn't like it when you mess with its board state, unless like you're trying to like pop the Noblest token, because you could just make that basically for free every turn. But it really doesn't like it when you mess with its board state. It's not the easiest thing in the world for this deck to build a board, because it's not the easiest thing in this world for this deck to build a hand. The only draw power you have is in the inlet pulse and in the draw triggers. But anyway, getting on to the rest of the deck, guys. 3 DPGs, really nothing much to talk about here. 1 Blitz Order PG. This is for the Guard Restrict matchups and for the Chronojet matchup, obviously. And then, so, besides the triggers, I had a 1 of slot left in this deck, and this one, like I said, this 1 of slot, if you value the Persona Ride over this card, this is like, at first, I tried Nectar, because I was like, oh, I have a 1 of slot, let me just play a win more card. And then every time I saw Nectar, I wasn't able to get it off, like, fully, or I wasn't able to like, get it off at all. And I had to, like, really struggle to get it off, and then I didn't even win that turn. So I really took out Nectar. I put Nectar in because I wanted it to be, like, a win more card, but it really just didn't work out that way. So I wanted my 1 of to be, like, a really powerful 1 of, and you could argue the Chalice is a powerful 1 of like that. But I chose this really old set 1 card that you probably don't know about, Sealed Path. Sealed Path is a Blitz Order. Now, the reason that this is a power 1 of, in my opinion, at least defensively, it's a power 1 of, is because when you activate Sealed Path, you CB2. I think it only works on the Vanguard. Hold on. Yeah, your opponent's Vanguard. You CB2. Choose one of your opponent's Vanguards, and it gets -1 crit until the end of that battle. And this is just really, again, this is just really good in matchups to where it's like their Vanguard swing with like multiple criticals, or you just don't have enough guard, or you just don't have enough PGs, like you normally wouldn't survive that turn. This deck doesn't counterblast. The only thing that counterblasts in this deck is Diantha, and Diantha only activates when you call her from hand. So this is just really basically like a free... It's basically like a free Perfect Guard, a free 1 card Perfect Guard. Like, of course, they'll still damage you if they check a crit, but if you're at 4 damage, that doesn't kill you if they give the critical to Vanguard. or like they will need to check multiple crits to kill you at that point if you're like at 3 damage or 4 damage or what have you. So I really like this idea. I tried running it at multiple copies at first, but they just kind of like bricked and clogged to where I had to like discard the other copies basically, or like for perfect guards and whatever. And I didn't want to conflict with my Blitz PG, so I felt like just one of is perfect. I really wanted to maximize on the rest of these cards in the deck. So yeah, that is my one of tech for the deck. Getting onto the triggers. One of the Stoicheia over trigger, not much to talk about. There's no reason to run the other ones. Maybe you could run the new ones from Festival Collection when that comes out over the Stoicheia over trigger, but right now there's no reason to run King Oboreon. This is just way better, especially in this deck, because the 10k power is like very appreciated to the front row. And of course, the 100 million, the crit is very appreciated, but this deck really like appreciates the 10k power to the front row because it's really, you don't really make powerful lines besides your Vanguard and your restood unit. 3 effect draws. This deck doesn't really draw, and that's the reason why we are playing the effect draws over fronts. You could argue that fronts would be better, but my main worry and concern with this deck is just being able to play. And what I mean by being able to play is like being able to restand your rear guard, which is just like very important to me. And that's why like I prioritized on drawing in this deck and being able to revive my token generators. 4 into soul crits. This could be regular crits. I never had the opportunity to use this, but it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. 4 regular critical triggers and then 4 regular heal triggers. You guys know this from my other deck profiles. I'm just not a fan of the effect heals, like any of them. I don't feel like they're super relevant in this format. Maybe if in one of the sets in the future that we move into like a more like restand rearguard heavy format to where it's like all the best decks are like actually restanding something, or like all the best decks are like giving something a crit, then like maybe those would be more relevant. But for now, I just prefer like regular heals. Regular heals have never lost me a game, to whereas like the effect heals have actively lost me games, and that's why I just don't use them. But anyways, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We are selling this mat. I'm actually in the process of setting up a binder, like maybe like a sales page, or maybe like I'll do like a website. But I am trying to get rid of some stuff in my binder. So if you're interested in that, please DM me on Messenger or email me. My email is in the description down below. Or if you're interested in one of these beautiful playmats, we are still selling these. We do have a few of these still in stock. Have been able to sell a couple this week, and I'm just like very grateful for you guys for all the support that you've shown to the channel. And even if you can't afford a mat, or you don't want to necessarily put money into the mat, that's fine. You're not hurting my feelings. All I ask is you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, and you share this to like a friend, or share this on Twitter, on Instagram, or on Facebook. It would just be very appreciated, guys. Like the growth that we've had recently is just phenomenal in my opinion, and I'm gonna work harder. I feel like I've been slacking lately. I'm definitely gonna be working harder for you guys, so you get more content like this, the content you deserve on this channel. But anyways, guys, later.